Escucha las palabras de las brujas, los secretos escondidos en la noche. Escucha las palabras de las brujas, los secretos escondidos en la noche. Los antiguos dioses invocamos ahora.
What are you doing? Well, hey, now I know it's been a crazy week and a lot of stuff has been going on, and I don't want you to think that I don't care because it's been a little odd for me to see some people just show up on the internet like a major world event, particularly for our country, didn't happen about a week ago. So if you want to know my thoughts and feelings about all of that and what I'm going to do moving forward, I do have a new YouTube channel that I have. Basically, it's going to be my own personal live journal. It's really, I call it sort of an ambitionless YouTube channel. But yeah, if you want to know my personal thoughts and feelings, feel free to check out all of my political opinions there. I don't want you to think I'm one of those people that's trying to keep a big following and not, upset anybody or tiptoe. And it's like, I've got very strong political opinions. And if you want to hear every last one of them, they're over there on my YouTube channel for you to check out. But also, I've got a couple other videos there too, especially like a Q&A that was like over an hour long that was really, really fun to film. So if you want to get to know me a little bit better, feel free to check it out. I'd love to have you over there. But I am really going to try my best to make this space as non-political as possible because so many of us just want to escape the horrors and the evils of the world. And I really want to be that person for you. I want you to be able to come here and feel safe and warm and in many ways feel like it's 1992 again. So I wanted to say that before we got started today because, like I said, I didn't want you to think I don't care, but I do want to be able to be here and share a space with you where we can just be free. So today we are going to look at two things. One is my brand new limited edition holiday collector doll and book set for Kirsten's surprise that was just released by American Girl. And boy, as soon as I caught wind of this, I was like, all right, I'm ready. What's that old meme that's like, my body is ready? I knew, I didn't even have to see the doll. Once I knew they were doing that, I'm like, okay, it's done. A collector's item for one of the original Pleasant Company characters. Sign me up. So of course I got her, and I thought, because for whatever reason, I guess because I live like in the sticks now, kind of, my mail arrives later than it used to. So I knew that I wasn't going to be like the first person to unbox this on YouTube. So I thought it would be fun today to compare the newest version of Kirsten in her St. Lucia outfit from 2024, compare her to the original 1986 version, which is almost 40 years old now, which is crazy because I'm almost 40 years old. My birthday is on November 14th. I think you're going to see this a couple days before. So if you could wish me a happy birthday, honestly, it would probably perk me up a little bit. So yeah, it's my birthday coming up. I haven't even picked a birthday present yet because I feel like I have like 100 Kirsten dolls. So this didn't feel good enough for a birthday present. I have one Barbie thing that I've gotten, but I haven't done like a big American Girl purchase. I have something in mind, but I don't know if it's going to pan out or not. But anyway, so we are looking at the 1986 version of this today, and this is one of my favorite sights to behold because, as you can see, like the original American Girl dolls are very freaky looking, and this is one. Now, granted, this one has had a couple of updates to her, but this is about as close as you're going to see on YouTube, and I'll show you a couple other things that I have that can kind of give you the full picture of it. But just to see, like, side by side, these two dolls here, like, I think a non-doll person is going to be like, oh, that's the same doll. What are you talking about? But to me, these are like completely different universes. It's almost like one exists like in the upside down or like a parallel universe. But yeah, I thought it would be fun to like walk through all of the differences in them today because Mattel, actually, I don't even want to blame all of this on Mattel. Like when Pleasant Rowland was the head honcho over at Pleasant Company, there were a ton of changes that she was making as well. So I don't want to say this is just a Mattel thing. This is just a capitalist thing. Like things continue to evolve and change so that we can reach maximum profits. And again, Pleasant Rowland was no stranger to that. So this isn't going to be a Mattel shaming video today if that's what you were hoping for. But I want to go ahead and take the box lid off of Kirsten because if you've been here before, you're probably not going to be that surprised that I'm not taking this doll out of the box because, like I said, I have, oh God, probably at least 10 Kirsten dolls. Although maybe I'm exaggerating. I have sold quite a few things. I'm gonna put this over here, but that just landed on a doll's head. Hopefully nothing got messed up. But yeah, and yes, I do have dolls on my bed right now. Sue me. So anyway, yeah, as I said, I have a lot of Kirsten dolls. We won't say how many because honestly, I don't even know how many. But I feel like it's like pointless to take this one out of the box and display her in this similar fashion because I love the box. Oh, let's talk about the box, actually. I am all over the place today, as, you know, I feel like I'm cutting myself a little bit of slack lately, but let's grab the box. I can make sure I didn't, like, completely put a dent in it with a doll's head, and let's actually talk about the box, because to be perfectly frank, my favorite thing about this entire release is the box. So let's not gloss past it. Let me grab it, and let's talk about it. All right, we're all good. There are no dents because this box is made out of exceptional materials. This is basically the kind of box quality that you expect if you're buying an Hermes bag for like $10,000. So I really, really, really love the collector boxes. I wish that, I mean, look, is it great for the environment? No, so maybe I shouldn't wish this, but I wish at least the historical dolls had these kinds of boxes. Like, I would be happy for them to go up to $150 if we could get some quality increases. So, yeah, I don't know. I just think that these boxes are so incredibly lovely. And they did, honestly, I really think they need to go back to this color versus, I mean, no, that's probably not true. This is such a vintage looking color. It probably doesn't suit the modern toy market. But does this not feel so Pleasant Company-ish to you? They got the burgundy color right on this one. And like I said, the quality is high. This is way higher quality in terms of like box make than Pleasant Company ever did. So don't come for me when I'm trying to say Mattel hasn't made all bad changes. This is, I mean, granted, this is a collector doll and we paid like twice the amount for it, but let's not get into all of that. This is a really, really great quality box. I'm going to grab a burgundy box, like an original Pleasant Company one, so we can actually compare the colors. So this is one of the beat up ones I kind of have hanging around. This is from Samantha's School Lunch. Again, this is a 1986 box. It actually has the original product code sticker on here in red ink. So it is a, like, this was put together in 1986, truly. And wow, this is a very, very close color match. It's not exact, but like the lighting's all over the place here today. I'm going to try my best to avoid reflections, but I mean, this is, I have to say, pretty dang close. Now, this is a little bit more red, and admittedly, the Pleasant Company boxes turned into like a little bit deeper, like more of a blue burgundy than this, starting in 1988. So that's probably, I would imagine they probably have split the difference in it. Let me see if I can find one of the boxes from 1988. Actually, I'll do you one better. I actually have Felicity's box from 1991. This is an original 1991 Felicity. And if you look, I know I'm blocking the microphone, so I'm trying my best not to like sound like I'm in a cave. But if you look here, this again is still, I think they split the difference. Honestly, this is, I don't know. I feel like my eyeballs aren't working today, but you know, I'm going to say close enough. I'm happy. I think that this is a beautiful color, but this is what the doll boxes looked like in 1988 through 1991. They were this like beautiful burgundy color with a cigar, like paper cigar band around the box. The original doll boxes actually were quite similar to this. They were just, you know, the size of a doll. So you can kind of see, wow, it doesn't really pick up on camera, but if you were here in person, you would be able to see that this is a little bit more of a brighter, like reddish burgundy. So yeah, these are what the original boxes were like in the very, very early days when I was a child. So anyway, let's put these out of the way. These are collector's items and I'm going to totally screw them up. So let me put them to the side and we will look at this box a little bit closer. So I just have to say they've done such a beautiful job with this. This to me is the essence of Pleasant Company. As you just saw, we have, I mean, if it's not burgundy, it's not Pleasant Company, in my opinion. I know that they changed to white boxes, but they're really synonymous with the color burgundy. And so this was the only choice that they could have made for this box color that would have made me happy. But they've done some really interesting things in the design as well. And I will say I love that they've kept it very, very minimal. We do have a little bit of like iconography here at the top and stuff just to add some interest, but my favorite thing that they have done with this is they have gone in and done these I don't know what you would specifically call them, but these double lines here that are outlining this window frame here. not only does that feel incredibly vintage, like it just makes me think of like an old Victorian house for some reason, but this is what they would do on the covers of the original books. So for instance, Meet Kirsten would have this like little double outline on the original books, and they actually put her year in here, which I really love. Again, this is something they did on the original books. It was 1854. They have basically done a lot of references to the illustrations, which is so incredibly brilliant. This was so smart. Whoever is on their graphic design team that made the choice to do this was incredibly smart. It's such a subtle detail, but these are the kinds of things that I think scream luxury and obviously nostalgia because it's so similar to what they were doing back in the early days. This is one of my favorite things about this box. Let me see if I can find a book and maybe show you what the original book looked like. All right, I found one. So if you can see here, you can see the double outline. Let me see if I can get this a little closer, but you can see the double outline around this sort of like parchment kind of design that kind of was their default background, both for the catalogs and the illustrations. It's sort of this like parchment paper looking background. It's really, really beautiful. Again, very nostalgic and old looking, but you've got the double outline that I was just talking about. And you also have the year 1854 in the little circles in the bottom corners. And that's what I'm talking about with this here. Like they have basically mimicked the Meet Kirsten book in that. I think it's so smart. That is one of my favorite details about the box. But just in case you are wondering if this was an OG book, you can look at the back here and they only have Samantha, Molly, and Kirsten pictured on the back because this was an original book before Felicity was even a thought in anyone's minds, but Pleasant Roland. So yeah, I just think that this box is so incredibly beautiful. They have done a great job with putting her together so that you can display this doll in a box and not have to take her out and start putting things together. This looks beautiful as is because they've managed to put the wreath it's basically like a halo above her head. It's like kind of floating above her head, but the candles are in it. It gives the impression that it's like resting on top of her head, but they were able to do it in a way in the box that lets it float so it doesn't actually mess up her hair, which I really, really appreciate. Quickly, we'll look at the sides because there's not a whole lot to look at. We've got the American Girl logo and the iconography on both sides, and we also have what is now an iconic American Girl logo, which is this star, but that is something that I don't think showed up until Mattel took over. This star is a fairly recent development in Pleasant Company design, but we love it. It's iconic now. So we also have the back here, and this is how we put illustrations on boxes, in my personal opinion. I've kind of complained before about the collector dolls, say the Disney stuff in particular. They like putting the illustrations on the front, like in front of the doll. And to me, I always feel like that is highlighting too many of the differences between the actual illustrated character for like Ariel versus the doll that they made inspired by her. I think putting it on the back is a great place to do it. So I really think that this was very, very smart to take, again, the original illustration. I'm actually curious. So there are some updates to this illustration. Now, I don't know if they were updated at some point in, along the way, like in the 90s or 2000s or whatever, but they have definitely done some changes to this illustration, particularly with Kirsten's face. That's really where I'm seeing most of the changes, but I think they were subtle changes. And so for me to look at this, I honestly would not have thought oh, this is updated. It really has the original vibe that Renee Grafe, but the original illustrator that did Kirsten's illustration, who is still a prominent illustrator today. She's on Instagram and sharing all of her beautiful work. But yeah, so we have this original modified illustration of Kirsten, and we have just, again, very, very simple, subtle graphic design. And when I talk about luxury, this is what I mean. It is understated luxury. We don't have a lot of crazy bold graphics. This is very quiet design, but I think it's very impactful. And I really think they have done an incredible job. They have done one thing that I actually don't like as a graphic designer, even though I understand why people do it. I don't like this full justification on text, because the reason they've done this is to try and keep this very symmetrical, which I understand. And it doesn't look particularly bad here, but I just think it makes the text very strange looking. I think it would have been okay to just let this have a full left justification. But again, I'm getting into like graphic design nerdery, so I will quit indulging that. This is all in all incredibly beautiful, incredibly subtle. The notes that I have for this are me just trying to be elitist and snobbish. So all in all, if somebody took this to my desk as a senior graphic designer, I would say, print it. This looks great. Good job. So really, really great job on the packaging. I always complain about the limited edition doll boxes. So I just really wanted to take today to really say how much I really, really love these and what a great job that the team at American Girl has done with the graphic design on this, because these things I think are very, very important. These dolls are, hold a piece of our soul, and, we get really, really defensive about these things because this is a part of our childhood, a part that's unchangeable. So when we see changes we don't like about things that we hold so dear, like we tend to get out the pitchforks. So I really do think that they gave this doll the graphic design and everything the respect it deserves. I'm going to go ahead and take the lid off again, and we'll try not to like completely face bomb a doll in the process. But I wanted to take one quick look at something on the inside of the box as well. And you'll probably have to go watch somebody else's video unboxing this doll, because this doll ain't coming out of the box for the rest of her life. But again, we have more references to the original Pleasant Company illustrations and design. See this like parchment background that I've been talking about? This was like, to look at this, I'm like, this is the only thing that you could have done for this doll in terms of graphic design. And people will still have a way of messing this kind of thing up, but oh my gosh, they've just done such an amazing job. So we have the background is like overall like lined with parchment, again, like the illustration of the book. And if you really really pay attention, you see how we have these like pine trees. I know I lived in Oregon for like the longest time, and I'm still not good at recognizing trees like this. But whatever type of pine tree this is, you see how they are like flanking the doll in here in the same way that the book, it's the same thing from the original illustration of the book. We have the two trees on either side, and then we have the trees on either side of the doll here. Like, this is, again, really, really smart design. This is nostalgia, I think, at its finest. Now, I know that some people have been complaining that the tray was not included. And I'm neither here nor there on it. At the end of the day, that tray was sold as a separate accessory as part of the St. Lucia, or like Kirsten's Christmas collection, basically. So obviously the doll was sold separately. Then the St. Lucia outfit, so everything, including the ribbons from the neck down, was sold as a separate item. The wreath was sold as a separate item as well. It didn't come with the dress originally. And then the tray was sold with the buns and the I can't even remember what else was on it, but her St. Lucia tray was also a completely separate item, as was her Sorry doll, which was her rag doll. So for me, it's not really a big deal. I don't think that they've split anything up. I think the biggest argument you could have for that is that it was pictured on the cover of the book. So it would have been nice if somehow they could have figured out how to have the doll holding the tray with all that stuff on it. But honestly, I think, with current technology, I don't think there's a way of really doing that in a way that looks good. I think it would have been really junky looking personally. So that's not something that I'm particularly upset about. Now, I do know that there are a lot of people that are upset that the doll did not, that you basically have to buy a Kirsten doll to get this outfit. And that I do understand, because they are re-releasing these dolls, and there are people, like Kirsten got re-released this year, like back in April or March, earlier this year. It hasn't even been a year, but Kirsten is back, and we don't know how long she's going to be around. She might be permanently back. We don't know, but there are a lot of people that have very recently purchased this exact doll just with her meat outfit. So I do understand that people are like, we already bought this doll and you're trying to sell us another one of the same doll. And you do have to remember that I think most people don't collect like I do. Like, I think it's totally fine to have like 15 Kirsten dolls, because I do, and many of my friends that collect dolls also have multiple duplicates. But I do see how people are like, you did all of this and you couldn't just make an extra couple thousand of this outfit to sell separately for those of us that put our faith and our money back into Kirsten being re-released. So I actually do understand that. I wish they could have released this as a separate outfit, because again, they didn't do anything special with the outfit. It's basically as close of a replica as they could do, in modern ages. She is not bedazzled with a bunch of jewels or whatever, or I guess Swarovski crystals. So honestly, I'm kind of glad they did. And, I thought, oh my God, are they going to basically completely bedazzle St. Lucia Kirsten? I mean, I think there's maybe a way they could have done it on the candles or something. I don't know. But yeah, that's one reason this doll was cheaper, I think, is we didn't have crystals or any of that stuff. But I do agree that it would have been nice if people could have purchased just the outfit by itself. But, I can't control that. And to be perfectly honest, and I'm just being honest, for me as a collector, based on the stuff that I own and the things that I collect and my collecting goals and everything, if they had re-released just the outfit by itself, I wouldn't have bought it. In the same way that I didn't buy Kirsten's re-release as the doll, and I didn't buy her birthday outfit re-release, because they're basically, again, just reproductions of the originals. So I was not going to buy a reproduction of her St. Lucia outfit, because I have a handful, maybe not a handful, but I have a few of them. So I didn't need another one. But because it's presented in this way, again, we basically are being given a complete replica, as closely as they could do, of the front cover of Kirsten's Surprise. To me, this is what made me want to buy this. It's a collector package. This feels like it has a real presence in my collection that reproductions don't typically have. So I am personally one of those people that it worked on. I bought this fervently. I was so happy to buy this, and I'm so happy to have it. But if they had just re-released the outfit, I wouldn't have bought it. Not even a chance. So I guess I have to put my own 2 cents in that way, because I know people probably mostly feel different than I do. But they only made 3,000 of these, and I think they were just banking on the fact that a lot of, at least 3,000 people would want this doll in this incarnation, and I was one of them. So yeah, and one of the things is they just did such a great job on this box that I absolutely had to have it. So we'll move on from the box. I think I've actually already opened this, so I think the number that I got was number 591, which is fairly low, but I'm not going to worry about low numbers on all this stuff. It was all made at the same time, and a number is just a number. Yeah, it would be fun to have number 1, and I probably would actually pay somebody a decent amount of money for a number 1, but it's really not that big of a deal. Anyway, all this, like I said, was included with her was her original St. Lucia gown, which is, this from the neck down, and her wreath and the book, Kirsten's Surprise. So like I said, I'm not taking this doll out of the box. You're going to have to find somebody else's channel that's actually going to take this out of the box. I will say my only note for this doll is that when she arrived, her braids had slipped. So I had to kind of readjust them so that they are a little bit higher. But just know that when she got here, they were almost just pigtails again. They didn't, the bows hadn't come undone, so it was okay. All I had to do was just pull them back up. But just note that if you have this on the way, she could arrive and you might need to do a little bit of adjusting on her hair. But to be perfectly frank, that's how a lot of the original Kirsten shipped back, in the 80s and 90s. They had sometimes shown up with their braid slipped. I even have one that's perfectly mint in the box, and her braid has slipped just a little bit. So it's happened for years. And Mattel's Kanekalon hair is actually a little bit shinier, and it's more slick than the original Pleasant Company hair, just a little bit. So it has a tendency to slip even more. Honestly, it looks like they've slipped a little bit again. So this might be something that I'm constantly adjusting over the years. We shall see. But anyway, yeah, I don't know if we need to do a full review of the doll and everything itself. I really just kind of want to talk about some of the comparisons of what the doll and her outfit look like now versus 1986, because I think it's just so fun to compare these things. And it's also a little bit fun to brag that I have really rare items. So anyway, I'm going to come right out with the most obvious difference, and it's the difference that collectors really kind of lose their minds over when they're buying the original 1986 version of Kirsten's St. Lucia outfit. And well, technically it wasn't part of the outfit, it was just her wreath, but it's her wreath. So the original wreath actually had, if you could see here, these long satin ribbons that were attached to it, like basically where the wreath is here, that were meant to be a chin strap. So you could tie this wreath onto Kirsten's head. Now, this doll has so many bows on her. She looks like a freaking Christmas tree. Like, you can see how much extra, like, ribbonage is on this doll versus the new one. This was a change that they made fairly quickly, though. So this really isn't a Mattel thing. This is more of a Pleasant Company change in the 90s. But originally, these wreaths were not only, like, very, very bushy. I will say this one looks a little bushier than some of the ones I've seen in the 90s. So they did fill it out just a little bit, but these original wreaths were really, really, really big. And the candles were really tall. I think you can probably tell. I'm trying to like avoid reflections, but you can kind of see the length difference in these candles. And these were made out of wood. Like, these are basically pencils without the little lead in them. It looks like it's just like a little mini dowel that's been put through a pencil sharpener, painted white, and then a little red tip painted on it. That's how they were made for the first several years that they did these St. Lucia outfits. And yeah, these candles were they were taller back in the day. I'm going to guess they shortened them just to kind of make things easier to ship potentially, because the boxes didn't need to be as big. But the candles on 1986 and 1987 sets are going to be really tall like this. And these here are about the length that you would expect from, you know, like the late 80s and onwards. These are actually the correct length for what most people know for a St. Lucia wreath. But like I said, that big difference between these two is the original 1986 one has this insanely long set of satin ribbons that basically you do what I've done here is you just tie them under her chin like a bow. And this is an incredibly hard piece to find. Like, I swear I haven't even seen one come up for sale this year. So it's, you know, this is one of those things that people like scratch each other's eyes out over. And I know because someone sniped one out from underneath me on Facebook, which again is another reason I'm not on Facebook, because people there are terrible. Well, not everybody, but there are a few people there that are terrible, and you know who you are. You're probably not watching this though. But anyway, so again, you can see here that we've also got some like longer ribbons just in the bows here. They've definitely shortened them here in the reproduction. Again, I think it's just to kind of clean up the look for the box. And again, if we're perfectly honest, Kirsten didn't have a bunch of ribbons hanging down in her face or a chin strap or any of that stuff on the original book illustration. So I do think that, you know, American Girl now is trying to recreate the thing that most people know. I don't think they're trying to do their like #1 Barbie or whatever. They're trying to basically give people what they know, and more people know this version than this version. But yeah, this wreath is going to be the biggest difference in these two dolls, well, the two outfits, because again, they just made a few subtle changes over the years, and it was enough changes that people, like, again, like I said, they really, really want this original wreath. And can you blame us? I mean, it's really fun having these extra ribbons and details. I don't know. It just looks more full and bushy and just kind of over the top. So you know I'm going to love it if it's over the top. Another thing that you're probably not going to be able to see on camera is the little berries that are in this wreath are plastic. They're basically little injection molded plastic berries. They're almost impossible to see, but the ones in here are more like the berries that you kind of think of. Like, they're basically like styrofoam that's like been plastic coated or whatever. They look a little bit higher quality, I have to say. They have more of like, it almost seems like something you would put in like a floral arrangement if you're doing like faux florals. So definitely higher quality there, but I will say I'm fairly impressed at how they were able to replicate the like the foliage. I'll never say it correctly. Foliage in the wreath. All in all, I think it's the same vibe. This does not look like a super cheap reproduction. There are a couple of changes. Oh, and again, the candles are plastic, and that's understandable because everything is plastic these days, especially like with what American Girl's making. And they did change to plastic later on, so it wasn't like this is the first time we've seen plastic candles on a St. Lucia crown. But for me, like, wood is really what I expect from a St. Lucia wreath. So that is one like subtle thing that's like not the best, but honestly, by the time you put the box lid over it and kind of just have the doll on display, it's not really that big of a deal. It doesn't bother me at all. I'm gonna quickly talk about the dolls' faces. I know because it partly feels like we're mostly talking about St. Lucia today, but I do think it's always fun to compare the dolls, and I've never really done this on my channel before, I don't think, and I've been asked a million times. So today's your day. We're going to talk about the differences between the current Kirsten and what Kirsten used to look like for a very, very, very short time in 1986. And like I said, collectors scratch each other's eyes out over these things. So I think it's kind of a fun treat to share this with you today, because many of you watching these have never seen this stuff in person, because you're like, why would I pay thousands of dollars for this when I could just have this for like 150? So I look, and I get it. We all have different collection goals, and this is just what I like to do. So right off the bat, I feel like the biggest difference you're going to notice is the eye color in these dolls. So the collector edition Kirsten that's currently available is really, I think, not far off of what they were kind of looking like before Kirsten retired in the 2000s. It has, you know, she has more of that Mattel look, obviously, because they've made so many updates to the head molds, you know, since they started making everything in China. For whatever reason, they, I guess, needed to make new molds. So this doll that we have here, like I said, is basically the exact Kirsten that you can buy now. I have heard that this doll actually has a neck string instead of zip ties to hold her head on. I will never know for sure with this doll, but again, watch somebody else's video if you want to see an unboxing. But I've heard that she does have a neck string, which is interesting. But I'm sure it's like one of the like Mattel like rounded ones. But yeah, her eyes obviously I feel like are the biggest difference. And the blue color that we have here is really, again, kind of what we expect for Kirsten, even in the 90s. They're sort of that like, I don't know what, like an aqua blue, and they're kind of a deeper color. This Kirsten, while these aren't her original eyes, this Kirsten does have the blue color that the original 1986 Kirstens had. Well, some of them. The original 86 Kirstens can have either like, hang on, I have another one. We'll look at it really quick. If you can see here, like these dolls have very different colored eyes. This doll will kind of help you see the difference in what was more common in the 80s and 90s versus, you know, what it looks like now. And they're obviously a lot closer, but you can tell that they have darkened Kirsten's eyes over the years. And I think they look, personally, I do think that they're a little bit too dark. Now, I don't think they need to be as light as the 86 version, because I recognize that they look completely psycho, but I do think these are a little bit too dark. I wish they had gone with a color a little bit closer to this one, because I think it would have breathed a little bit more life into the doll. You know, I just think that would have helped really lighten her up a little bit with her blonde hair and everything. I just think lighter eyes would have looked better for this particular doll. But there are a lot of variations in eye color for white body Kirsten dolls from the 80s. And so depending on which one you buy, I think there are like 5 different eye colors you can get in your Kirsten doll. So this is one of them. I'm going to put her away at least for now, but because we won't have a chance to look at her bangs, you can see like how crazy big Kirsten's bangs were in 1986 and honestly throughout the early 90s. So yeah, we're not taking wreaths off of heads today. So this is your last chance to look at bangs. So yeah, eyes, really, really big difference. Collectors call this doll, like her nickname, they've been calling her like a spooky Kirsten. I don't like that name. I tend to try not to use it unless I'm trying to buy one. But yeah, that's what these, when you hear like a reference to a spooky Kirsten, this is what people are talking about. It's a doll from 1986 or early 1987 that has these like insanely light blue eyes. So I guess one of the main differences I probably should touch on before I forget, because I forget that Kirsten is also like, has been tan bodied for like decades at this point, but this is a white bodied 1986 Kirsten. They were all white body dolls all the way through 1991, like early 1991. So her torso is going to be like a soft white color. It's like basically muslin. And they changed the color of her torso around 1991 with the release of Felicity, when they made the decision to make all of their torsos tan. We will talk about the reasonings and all of that stuff in another video. But just so you know, this is a white body Kirsten, and this one, I don't want to mess her skirt up, but we'll look. Oh yeah, she has pantaloons. I don't think mine has... I forgot to put her pantaloons on, but honestly, you can't really see them, so I don't care. But yeah, let's just go ahead and make the assumption that this is a tan body Kirsten, although it would have been really fun if they had made her white body. That would have been cool, but unexpected, obviously. So that is one of the big differences in the early like 80s Kirsten dolls versus the 90s and onward is we have white torsos. But I feel like that's sort of like, you know, if you're this far into this video, you probably know that already. I don't really want to like harp on all of that too much. One of the other big differences too is, I know it's kind of difficult to see, but the tooth shape on these dolls is incredibly different as well. These have sort of that standard beaver shape that we are all used to. They're sort of like a medium size. It's like correctly to scale to her, you know, the proportions of the doll, and they're kind of like square. They're like perfect squares, basically. Let me look. Well, let's say perfect rectangles, but they're very, very clean, and I'm gonna assume that these are pad printed on. I'm sure you don't care, but these would have been put on either with a machine or like a really, really good stencil. Whereas the original Kirsten teeth for the first couple of years were hand painted, basically with a paintbrush. So there's like lots of variations of them, but this one has teeth that we kind of refer to as chip teeth. Basically, they're really, really uneven, and they're almost rounded, and some of them look like there's like a chip like cut out of them in the middle. So yeah, they're a little bit odd looking, but I find them really charming because as someone with crooked teeth, I kind of like when teeth are like not so perfect. So, you know, I don't know. I think I identify with this doll a little bit more. And I actually bet you there will be a lot of division. Maybe, I don't know, in the comment section. Y'all tend to not fight in the comments, thankfully. But I do know that there are people... I took my shoe off and I can't find it. Oh, here it is. I do know that there are people that will prefer this Kirsten to this one, and I totally understand. This one is a lot more cleaned up, and the quality control, I think, is probably a lot higher. And I'm one of those people that actually does prefer the harder vinyl. I think it's a more high quality feeling product. Like this Kirsten here, I'm just going to do it, even though this is a really valuable Kirsten doll. You can squeeze their heads like basically like dog toys. Like if you need to do like an eye swap, you don't really have to heat the head up that much. So yeah, just very, very interesting differences in them. And I don't think all of the changes were bad. I actually do prefer the hard vinyl, but nothing is going to be like the look of a vintage doll for me. I like when they look a little bit crazy, a little bit scary. I just like that. I think it's, I don't know, it's exciting. It just makes me feel alive, I guess. But yeah, from the neck down, as far as the dolls go, I think that really the main differences are like this doll's probably going to have that like American Girl star logo imprinted in the bottom of her foot. This doll's gonna have a tan body, and this one's gonna have a white body. But all in all, they really haven't changed the limbs that much over the years. So, you know, not a lot of differences there, I don't think. Certainly their hair color looks very, very similar. I think they've given a little bit more of a golden color to this doll, but it is very, very subtle if they've changed it much at all. This is still Kirsten's iconic hair in both color, cut, and style. And interestingly enough, in those early catalogs, they kept those bangs cut short. Like you only knew that Pleasant Company dolls had really long bangs if you actually got one and got to enjoy it. But in the catalogs, their bangs, even in 1986, were about this short. I think they cut them short for the catalogs. So very, very interesting detail there, I think. I think as far as the actual gown goes, I think the most obvious difference that we can see here is the ribbon that they use for like the sash or the belt or whatever you want to call it on the original. Oh, I guess I have to like fully disclose. This is the 1987 version. I have the 86 one that we're going to look at in just a second to show you some differences, but it's a little bit more fragile and I don't want to mess it up because it is a true collector's item. But this is the 1987 version with just a couple subtle differences. But the belt on this one is a little bit wider. As you can see, this is a wider knit ribbon. I don't know what you would call this. It's not really a ribbon. It's more like, I don't know. It's like the same material as like the strings on my hoodie right here, but a little bit wider. I think it has a better presence. I honestly wish they had gone with a little bit wider of a ribbon for here because this to me looks a little anemic when you compare it to this like fuller ribbon that you can really like kind of flare out. And it just, again, this is such a simple gown, like as far as the silhouette and the colors. I think every little detail really counts. And I do wish they had gone with this slightly wider sash like they had originally. This, to me, it's a little anemic. I'm not going to complain too much because, again, they've done a wonderful job. But if I had my way, I would make this a little bit wider. It's a little too small. One really interesting thing that we will touch on quickly is the trim on this gown has changed a few times over the years. So I think they probably just kind of went with whatever they felt like was close, but This is sort of almost like, I don't know the difference between like crochet and knit and all of that stuff. Like, not really anyway, but this has like sort of like a crocheted feel to it, which is really, really nice. It's not just some like plasticky, like cheap feeling trim. It actually has a very nice feel to it. And these outfits are made out of different, like, I think this is like a cotton twill, and this might be more of like a muslin, because this has sort of like a diagonal grain to it. Again, I'm not super educated in how these fabrics like are named or made or whatever, but this is a nicer feeling fabric. It is thicker, which I really appreciate, because we can't really see her tan body through the white. And I will say, this is actually nicer made than the ones from the early 80s at least. So we have a very interesting trim on here that very much replicates some of the earlier Lucia outfits, honestly. They, at one point in the 90s, started using basically rickrack to do the trim on this, and I like how this has all of these loops and stuff. It's a really, really beautiful detail. So these actually represent the 80s St. Lucia gowns in terms of the trim more than the 90s ones. You can probably see here, this is a slightly different trim. This is the 1987 version of the trim. Oh, one quick detail I will forget, so I have to interject. But the sash on this St. Lucia gown for 1 year in 1987 actually was not sewn onto the gown. It's actually connected with Velcro. So this sash comes all the way off, which is why it can be hard sometimes to find a 1987 St. Lucia outfit with a sash, because it is not attached at all. It just has like a little piece of Velcro to help kind of hold it in place. But that's like an interesting like detail about the 87 version. Let me grab the 86 one really quick so we can talk about the differences between those, so you can really see the very, very first version. You can kind of see here how the neck strap on this is kind of like distorted the back of this collar here. I'm just gonna leave it though. I think she looks fine. So this here is my actual 1986 St. Lucia outfit that I don't even remember how I got it at this point, but I've had it for a few years. So we're going to look at a couple of details on here, because there's some key differences in what they are doing now, basically. So let me quickly take the socks off, because we have a spiel about the socks coming up. But this is the original 1986 version. And like I said, it looks more or less the same. Look, we're talking about subtle differences here, but come on, let's just disassociate and talk about trims for a little bit. So you can see here that the sash is actually sewn into the back, and this is how it was done most of the time that they made these. So one of the key differences, I guess we'll talk about quickly because it always comes up, is the tag. This one was made by Goetz in West Germany and not in China. So they were only made for a very, very brief while in 1986. It has the very big tag that is literally made out of paper. It's not a fabric tag, it's paper. And that's how you spot the 1986 version. That's the only one that will have the paper tag. You maybe or maybe not can see the difference in the trim. It's very, very subtle, but they changed the trim in 1987 and changed it again in like 88 or 89. They changed the trim a bunch, and I don't have every single version because it's too repetitive, but you can see here, yeah, the trim is actually a little bit different. The fabric is more or less the same, I'd have to say, which is why I went ahead and just put her in the 87 version, because it's less valuable. Mine, like I didn't bother to steam it, but just try and sue me. So this could probably look a little bit better. I bet on camera, hopefully some of the wrinkles won't show up. But yeah, I'm just trying to keep this in really good condition, and I don't like stretching the Velcro a million times and getting it messed up. So yeah, anyway, this is the 86 version that had a few subtle differences to what we're looking at today. So I just wanted to show them to you. One of the key differences we'll talk about in this outfit, I think, is going to be the socks. So the 1986 socks were quite different than the ones from, honestly, 87 and onward. If you look at these, which are, honestly, I'm not even sure if these are 87 ones. I might have grabbed them from another doll, but you can see like the color that we have here in the socks. We've got like pretty dense stripes, and yeah, just have a quick look at the back of them really quick before we look at the 86 ones. These honestly are not in perfect shape, but they're fine. They're mostly covered up by the gown. But this doll here, the new one, has roughly, actually interestingly, the new Kirsten ones, they're a little bit more of a poppy red. They're not as like that, like as much of a like a blue red as the ones from 87 that we just looked at, which is interesting because the 1986 ones were quite like a very orange looking red. Like they're very, very bright. And as you can see, they kind of don't quite match with everything else. I think that they were putting a lot of like random stuff together. And if I am perfectly honest, I wonder if these are Christmas ornaments that Pleasant Roland were like, oh, these are the perfect scale to stick on it all. So there's a good chance that these were just Christmas ornaments that were repurposed in 1986 to make the original St. Lucia gown. But the hallmark difference in them is they have this, it's like a taffeta ribbon that's basically a loop. And I want to say that that's just a loop to hang it on a Christmas tree. I'm not entirely sure, but that's going to be the key difference between the original socks versus the ones, you know, from the following years, is these little taffeta ribbons on the top of them. And again, these are incredibly hard to find, especially because I think some people ripped the loops of them off if they had the original ones. But yeah, we have the loops and we have very like bright orangey red socks, which I think for most people really don't care. But for me, it's just so fun to find these things and learn about them and have them and brag about them on YouTube, apparently. We've got a few other differences that, you know, at the end of the day, I think they're very, very subtle. One of the things I just remembered about this sash is they've actually gone in and sewn, like, I don't know if it's called a stay stitch. I'm just going to sound like an idiot if I try and sound like I know what I'm talking about. But they've run a stitch basically along the line where this was cut so that this sash does not fray over time. Kirsten's ribbons are notorious for fraying. It's really hard to find ones that have little to no fraying. You can even see like on the bottom of this, I've done a pretty good job of keeping this from unraveling too much. But this stuff is known for fraying because there's no like sealing or gluing or anything to keep them from fraying. So if Kirsten's played with enough, her ribbons will fray. So it's nice that they put little stitches there to keep them from fraying. I'm going to try and look up close to see if her hair ribbons are the same. And they definitely aren't. So they didn't bother trying to do the same thing for her hair ribbons. And I can tell just to look at mine now that they are probably more frayed than when they left the factory. So I think we're going to have to expect the ribbons on her hair to fray over time. It just sort of has, there's like a stiffness in the like the fibers or whatever they were using to weave them. So I think that they want to like spread out. So that's going to be an unfortunate thing that happens to these over time. But luckily, at least the sash, they've put these stitches on. So they should probably stay more or less the same over the years, which is really good. But you'll also notice here, I've done a really good job at keeping Kirsten's hair ribbons from fraying. And again, when we're talking like 1987 ribbons, these ribbons are pushing 40 years old. And these have managed to fray less than ones that just shipped to me last week. So interesting quality control issues. I will say overall the quality on the stall is incredibly good. I am so incredibly happy to have her in my collection. I am glad that American Girl / Mattel are trying to give the original American Girls the attention and love that they deserve, because you know, as much as I want to talk about re-releases being like kind of redundant, this one didn't quite feel like a re-release. I feel like we got something a little bit new because this, like I said before, will have such a beautiful presence in my display, especially at Christmas time. It feels like something new. But that being said, if for some reason some person at American Girl or Mattel is watching, I would really, really love some new outfit concepts for Kirsten and the rest of the girls. Us collectors have all of this stuff already. So the only reason I bought this was because y'all did a really, really awesome box and packaged it really nicely, but we're sick of buying the same old thing over and over. I want to see some of the illustrations that from the original books where there were outfits that were never, ever made. I want to see those finally come to life. And I think it would be smart of them to do that, because every single person that has a complete or is working on a complete Pleasant Company collection will buy them. Literally on the first page of this book, now I know it looks like an amalgamation of maybe her work dress and her meet dress. They could make this dress. I don't think anybody would complain about it, but they've got like this sort of bluish dress with red stripes and a collar and cuffs and a very interesting, like, it's almost like a mauve color, like plaid apron. Y'all, we will buy this. Just make it and we'll buy it. You know, so there are a lot of opportunities for new items in this collection. And while I'm really happy that we're getting a lot of attention like this on kind of the original designs, I really, really, really want new concepts. That said, I am expecting at least Samantha's Surprise and Molly's Surprise limited edition collector dolls, so my collection is not lopsided for all of eternity. So I'm really crossing my fingers for those. I would also love to see them for Felicity, Addie, and Josefina. We'll see what they do. These dolls are selling well. I think they're probably going to sell out before the end of the year, so hopefully that means we will get more of them. But all in all, I'm super happy with mine. I am really, really glad I purchased this doll, and I think she's going to live in my collection forever. I want to take this time to thank everyone on my Patreon for helping support this channel so that videos like this are possible. Without the support of my friends on Patreon, neither my YouTube nor my Patreon channel would be possible. So thank you so much for helping my dreams come true. If you're interested in checking it out, there's a link in the description. It is the best thing you can do to help support my channel so I can keep going, and you'll get hours and hours and hours of extra American Girl content as a reward. So again, consider checking it out. I'd really appreciate it. You can also check out the link to my shop while you're hanging out in the description, and be sure to check me out on Instagram in particular. I would like to go back to TikTok and start making some more fun videos. I just have not had the time or resources to do it, but I am spending quite a bit of time on Instagram still. Like, I will run polls on there. I will post random nonsense on my Instagram stories. I really do actually enjoy using Instagram stories a lot. So if you want to kind of hang out with me on like almost like a day-to-day basis, be sure to check me out on Instagram. But if you want to just keep hanging out on YouTube, I've got plenty of other videos. There's probably one on your screen as I'm speaking right now. But until I see you again, please be sure to take care of yourself and take time to check out and just remove yourself from the nonsense and the horrors and the evils of the world. Watch something that teleports you back into the 90s if you have to, but it's really, really good to get yourself off your phone and clear your mind and rest and regenerate. It's so important, probably now more than ever. So I really want you to take care of yourself. Actually, I'm going to put a link to the big Q&A video I did. I think a lot of you probably missed it. So if you want to check out my other channel, why not? I would love to get to 1,000 subscribers there. So if you could subscribe there, I would really, really appreciate it. And maybe I'll see you over there. Okay, for real now. Later.